Did you know that April is National Donate Life Month? It's been celebrated every April since 2003, and it's why we're talking about it on the Means Report. Brad Means along with Tracy Ide with LifeLink of Georgia. And Tracy, before we get to the information that our viewers need to know about organ donation, we need to talk about something that happened last segment. We were talking about the Jefferson Award,
yes,
which News Channel 6 honors Giving Your Best winner every month. And all of those winners gather at the end of the year, and one of them is picked to receive the Jefferson Award and go to Washington, D.C. It's a large national celebration with all the other Jefferson Award winners. Your mom did win that.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
When you said Jefferson Award, I was like, It was the Giving Your Best Award, and then she actually did win the Jefferson Award. Her and Dad went to D.C. And had a great time. And I was the one that actually nominated her for that, for all of her volunteer work that she does with LifeLink and in our community, spreading the word about donation.
Good, and so she
Yes.
got that national recognition.
Yes.
All right, well, that's awesome. We congratulate Mom, and
Yes.
we're glad that Tracy is continuing to carry the torch of organ donation and talk about it here on the Means Report with us. Let me ask you my question first that's been bothering me, and I know it's probably silly, but my fear at one point was that they would harvest your organs before you're dead, and that I didn't want doctors to give up on me just so they could get an organ.
That is a
Talk about
huge myth that is out there. The doctor's job is to save your life. That's what they're there for. The doctors who actually recover the organs are completely separate from the ones that take care of you in the hospital.
They're not waiting outside the window,
No.
though, peeking in?
No.
All right.
LifeLink is not called until until you're brain dead or almost brain dead. An organ donor has to be brain dead. So we're not sitting there waiting with our little coolers
Right.
outside the window. We don't wait in the hospital for the ambulance to bring you in. The doctors do everything they can to save your life before we are even called.
And you have to have said that you're an organ donor before anything begins, right? It's not a decision that the doctor makes.
No, the doctor doesn't make it, but we do come in, whether you have it on your license or not, and offer that option to your family.
Let me ask you this. Can a family, if I've decided to be an organ donor, override my wishes after I'm dead? And say, we don't care what he has checked on his license, don't take it.
In Georgia, you used to could do that. Georgia used to be a next of kin consent state, which meant that if I had it on my license, but my husband said no, I couldn't be an organ donor. That law has just now changed. We are a first person consent state, which means that if you have it on your license or if you are in the donor registry, you're going to be an organ donor. But we still talk to the family. We still make sure the family is okay with that decision. We make sure they understand what's going on, understand the process. And if a family is really against it, we probably won't do anything. But we like to make sure the family is involved and make sure they understand what's going on.
Tracy, do you usually know if LifeLink is in a hospital waiting room speaking to a family? Can you usually picture at that moment who might receive that organ, or do you just know we need this organ?
We don't know specifically at that time. Once we get consent for donation, that's when the process really gets rolling, and they put the patient's blood type, height, and weight into a computer. United Network of Organ Sharing has this computer network list, and once they put that information in, names start popping up of who matches that donor.
What about the religious aspect of it? Someone might be concerned that it could be against their religion or that their church would frown on organ donation.
There is no religion right now that says no to donation. Most of them say it's a personal decision, which it is, completely a personal decision. But most religions say that it's an act of giving, it's an act of love. Isn't that what religion's about?
Yeah.
It's an act of giving, so they say it's a personal decision.
What about the number of lives? I think this is probably the most fascinating thing that you told me before we went on the air, and that's the number of lives that can be saved. Explain how that works.
One organ and tissue donor can help 50 or more people.
How?
You have 8 organs
Yeah.
that can be benefit from. Then all the tissues that you have, skin, bone, tendons, up to 60 people. That's just huge
And
to know 60 people are living.
Okay, every 11 minutes somebody is added to that waiting list? That is amazing. It's sad. 18 people die every day waiting for a transplant.
Yes.
How can skin be transplanted or donated? How can that help? Are we talking mainly about burn victims?
Burn victims, yes. And the main problem with the burn victims, your skin protects you. If you don't have any skin, you're going to get an infection. That infection can cause you to die. So the tissue donors for the skin, it goes right to the burn victims.
Let's talk about poor people. Let's talk about wealthy people. Can you do anything to wrangle your way up to the top of that list?
You cannot. It is illegal to buy or sell organs for transplant. It is illegal to pay someone to move you up on the list. You can't do that. social status, race, nothing like that moves you up on the list.
What about the steps that it takes to become an organ, eye, or tissue donor? Is it still just something that's handled at the DMV, or are there other ways?
There's other ways to do it. Thankfully, last April, we actually unveiled the online donor registry here in Georgia. If you want to be an organ donor, very simple. There's 3 ways. You can do it at the Department of Driver Services. You can still put it on your license. But you can go to donatelifegeorgia.org. Viewers can do it right now.
DonateLifeGeorgia.org.
DonateLifeGeorgia.org. Takes less than 5 minutes to sign up.
And what about age requirements or health requirements? Tell us a little bit about how those may or may not come into play.
There is no age limit to donation. The oldest one we've had here in Georgia, 87, donated her kidneys and her liver.
To who? Like another 87-year-old?
No.
I'm not trying to be funny, but
No, but
who
to someone
could use
else.
that? Really?
Any kidneys and liver can go a long time.
Gracious. All right. All right.
And then the youngest nationally has been 4 days. So there's no age limit. There's no medical condition that will rule you out right now. What we tell people is go ahead and make that decision, put it on your license, go to online, sign up, and let us make that decision of how healthy you are when that time comes.
How much does it cost?
No cost.
No cost at all.
No cost. And no cost to the donor or their family. It does cost on the recipient side, but being an organ donor, there's no cost to your family. It's an act of giving. So from the time that we have consent for donation to the time the recovery process is over, LifeLink pays for that. So it does not cost the donor family anything.
Are there any other expenses that LifeLink would cover, or would it just be the cost of the harvesting of the organ?
It's just for the recovery. We can't pay for the funeral.
Right.
Because that would be coercion. Say, hey, if you do this, we'll pay for your loved one's funeral. We can't do that. Again, it's an act of giving. It's a gift. It's a gift of life. So we can't pay for the funeral.
And then how do you all make money? Do the recipients pay you?
We are a nonprofit, but we are funded through Medicaid, Medicare.
Let me ask you this. What's the toughest, and there's probably more than one, issue that people bring up when you're trying to convince them that this is a good thing to do? Is it all of the issues we covered, or is there one thing that stands out?
And then there's another one of it disfigures your body. People are worried they can't have an open casket funeral. You, of course, can have an open casket funeral. It's one incision for organ donation, right down the middle. Tissue, they're going to take it from the back. If we take out bone, they put a prosthetic bone back in. So it doesn't disfigure your body to the point where you can't have an open casket funeral.
What about your eyes?
Eyes, they put a glass eye in.
Interesting. In your time with LifeLink, and in your time since witnessing what you witnessed with your mom, what have you noticed as far as people participating in organ, eye, and tissue donation? Are the numbers staying the same? What's happening?
The waiting list numbers are going up. When I first started, it was in the 90,000s. We're over 107,000 people nationally waiting for a transplant. In Georgia, it's over 3,000. In South Carolina, over 800. So those numbers are going up. But the good thing is people know about donation, but people just aren't making the decision. So I've noticed that people, oh yeah, I know about organ donation. I just never really thought about it as something I wanted to do. So now we're trying to get people to actually make that action, actually sign up to be an organ and tissue donor.
I know we talked about whether your social standing could help you move up the list. What about age? Are there people who, I mean, I know there are people who need transplants worse than others, even though they may be on the same waiting list. How does that work as far as someone having a really urgent need versus someone who might be able to wait?
It goes to the person who's the sickest and who's been on the waiting list the longest.
Okay. How true to life do you think these shows are that show organ donation, and that I mean, would you find as a rule that television does a pretty good job of portraying this?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We do have a very cool organization out in California called Donate Life Hollywood. And they're working with producers and writers of shows to portray donation accurately. But again, it's Hollywood. They're going to try to amp up the drama a little bit.
Sure.
Some things are right. Some things might be a little far-fetched. But we just have to say, hey, at least it's getting the word out there about donation. Because people are thinking about it at least.
What is I don't even know if you've heard about this. We had a story on it a couple of weeks ago on Channel 6. It was either a kidney donation tree or chain where all of a sudden it just exponentially grew, and you had a kidney donor and a recipient lined up one after the other. Also, Grey's Anatomy, I know, did an episode on that. Have you seen that, where donors from all over will hook up?
And they do that, and I think MCG is doing paired donation now, where say...
Paired donation?
Yes.
Okay.
If you needed a kidney, but your wife's not a match, but I needed a kidney, but my husband's not a match, but hey, they match each other, she could donate to me and he could donate to you.
Oh, I see.
So that's how it works, and that sometimes it gets longer and longer with how many people they need to actually make it happen.
Where does LifeLink I don't want to say recruit, but where do you speak to people to try to encourage them to take part?
I speak anywhere someone will let me talk.
Right.
Basically, churches, civic groups, Kiwanis, Rotary, Lions groups, schools. I love to go to schools and talk to ninth graders, because if you hit ninth grade, they're fixing to get their learners and get their license. So it's the perfect time to talk to them about
Okay, so
donation.
you'll talk to young people.
Yes.
And what's the response you get from them? We adults kind of get the whole life and death thing. How do children respond?
They actually respond pretty well.
Yeah.
They like us coming out, and I always take fun giveaways, so they love free stuff. So they love getting that kind of stuff. But I've even been to talk to pre-K students. I took Mom, and we had a book called How'd They Get That Heart Down Your Throat. So we read this book to the kids, and they enjoyed it. But by reaching them, we give them something. They take it home to their parents, say a brochure. So not only reach the students, we reach the parents at home too.
Tracy, what's the average wait time, if there is an average, once you're on that list?
It
The
varies.
100,000 plus.
It varies. There's no certain time.
Can it be more than, it can be more than a year, I'm guessing?
Some people, especially for kidneys, wait for multiple years.
And what was the situation with your mom? They checked her in, not knowing a heart was coming, and said, sorry,
Well,
but
she had been in the hospital for about 6 weeks, and they told her she was going to be there anywhere from 2 months to a year till she got a heart. Thankfully, just a few short weeks later, there it was.
You know what? I just am so grateful that you shared not only the information, but your personal story. You
Yes.
didn't have to do that, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. I love telling our story, and I love giving back. As soon as I graduated from college, this job opened up. I'm like, how perfect would that be? I get to go to work every day. I get to make a difference in someone's life, whether it be a recipient who's getting that heart because it's someone that I signed up to be a donor, whether it's someone signed up to be a donor and going, I'm going to make a difference in 60 people's lives when I die. That's a huge legacy. Or whether it's the donor family, giving them comfort knowing that their loved one lives on in someone else. Every day I make a difference in somebody's life, and I'm giving back what was given to my family.
What a wonderful job.
It is awesome.
I want to show the people how to get in touch with Life Link of Georgia, and you can tell them as well. It's on our television screen now. I guess you're an email away.
You can find us at lifelinkfound.org. We're actually here in Augusta. You can call us 706-854-0333. Answer any questions you have. But to sign up, and go to donatelifegeorgia.org and sign up today.
All right, Tracy Ide, thank you.
You're welcome.
So much for your time. That's Tracy Ide, Public Affairs Coordinator with Life Link of Georgia. If you want to submit an idea for future editions of the Means Report, we welcome your input. Our email addresses are on your screen, bmeans@wjbf.com. Marlena Wilson is our executive producer and the director of this broadcast. You can reach her at mwilson@wjbf.com and just put the Means Report on the subject line, and we will try to cover your issue. What a great issue it's been today, and we appreciate you tuning in. We're on Facebook, facebook.com. Please be our friend, /The Means Report, and you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/The Means Report. Have a wonderful week, everybody.